Hi guys. So today we will be studying Essay 501, which is on audit evidence specific considerations for selected items. So this is coming in the Essay 500 series, which is basically on audit evidence. Before we start today's lecture, I'd just like to make a request to you all that please follow my Telegram channel. The channel name is CA Newton Lobo. I'll be posting important ICI notifications. My all my notes will be available over there, and anything that the ICI announces or anything useful I find, I'll be posting it over there. So it can be a good reference, a good source of information for you. So please do follow my Telegram channel. Okay, so let's start. SA 501 Audit Evidence Specific Considerations for Selected Items. Now, what is the standard ka meaning? The name ka meaning. It is saying ki audit evidence, SA 500, we already have audit evidence. But this is sort of an extension to SA 500. This is saying that for selected items, we are giving you specific considerations. Or for select items, you need to keep these specific things in mind. So they are considering select items as important, and they have given specific rules for these select items. Now, if you see the first question, what are the select items? Inventory, litigation and claims, segment information. So it is saying these three are the specific items for which we have given, these three are the select items for which we are giving you specific considerations that you have to keep in mind, that you must follow when you are going to audit these three areas. So what are they? Inventory, litigation and claims, segment information. Inventory is there in your balance sheet. Litigation and claims can be your liability or a contingent liability. Segment information is a disclosure. Segment information is governed by Ind AS 108. Inventory by Ind AS 2. Litigation and claims is governed by SA 250. No Ind AS is there on it. Now, first answer, what are the objectives of this standard? So if you see, there are three objectives. There is one objective each on each of the select items. So the first is existence and condition of the inventory. So for inventory, we are checking two things. We are checking whether the inventory exists, whether it is even there, or there is just fictitious inventory shown by the company. So first we are checking that the inventory actually exists, and second we are checking the condition of inventory. So let us say if the inventory is not in good condition, it is in poor condition, so write off would be required of inventory. It would not be proper to show inventory at cost or NRV which is lower if the condition is condition of the inventory is not good. So then you would have to write off the value of the inventory. Second point, completeness of litigation and claims involving the entity. So we have to check that all litigation and claims involving the entity are completely disclosed by the company. The impact of all the litigations and claims. So see, each company may be involved in certain court cases. Now they may not disclose all the court cases to the auditor, right? The auditor has to ensure that all the court cases, he knows of all the court cases, and that the impact of all the court cases is shown. Now you may have a question ki how the auditor will come to know of all the court cases. So that procedure they have given in the audit standard. Basically, what is the auditor supposed to do? Impact of all court cases is taken into account. That is, either liability is shown or a contingent liability is disclosed in the balance sheet. And last thing is presentation and disclosure of segment information in accordance with the applicable FRF. So as per latest Indian accounting standards, Ind AS 108 governs operating segments, which is usually shown in the consolidated financials. So we have to check that the presentation and the disclosure of segment information is in accordance with the applicable FRF. So 3 points: inventory, litigations and claims, and segment information. And what about inventory? Existence and condition of the inventory, litigations and claims, completeness we are checking, and for segment we are checking the presentation and disclosure is in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. Next question, requirements related to selected items. Now here, this is the main part sort of as to in inventory, what are the specific considerations that SA 501 wants us to do, so let us see. First point is if inventory is material to the financial statements. Now there can be two cases. Inventory could be a very minuscule amount. It may be completely immaterial. And in that case, you don't need to apply all these procedures. Only when it is a material item to the financial statements, only then you need to follow all of this. So if an inventory is material to the financial statements, auditor shall obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding the existence and condition of inventory. So existence and condition we saw earlier also. By how should he this thing obtain the existence and condition ka audit evidence. First point is attendance of physical inventory counting. So he should attend the physical inventory counting which the management does. Very important, physical inventory counting is done by the management. Auditor goes and approves, auditor goes and not assists or approves. Auditor goes and is kind of observing the procedure, inspecting, doing some kind of test check. He is not the one who is going to count the inventory. Management only is going to perform. He is just going to overlook the process basically. So how is he going to do it? Attendance of physical inventory counting. First is evaluate management's instructions and procedures for recording and controlling the results of inventory counting. Basically, the management is recording all the inventory results properly. They are not doing some they are not doing some mistakes or something. They're just being very careful about it. Second point is observe the performance of management's count procedures. Third point, inspect the inventory. Fourth is perform test counts. Third point, inspect the inventory will give you a status of what is the condition of the inventory. For this perform test count, so he will not count the entire inventory, but in certain places he can just perform some test counts to get comfort over the existence of the inventory in line with the inventory records. Very important, if you see the A point, the first line, attendance of physical inventory counting unless impracticable. If it is impracticable, then only you can do away with this. Now, what is the meaning of impracticable? We are going to see later. B point, performing audit procedures over the entity's final inventory records to determine whether they accurately reflect the actual inventory count results. So we are also going to check that the final inventory results of the management inventory counting reflect the actual inventory count results. We will tally that the inventory count where we went, those results actually match with the management inventory results final. Next point, if physical inventory counting is conducted at a date other than the date of FS. So ideally, physical inventory counting we need to do on balance sheet day, that is 31st March. But let's say if it is not done on 31st March, if it's done a few days later, then the auditor, in addition to the above procedures, needs to perform audit procedures to obtain audit evidence about whether changes in inventory between the count date and date of FS are properly recorded. So let us say the inventory count is done on 2nd of April. So 31st March until 2nd April, there is a lag of 2 days. So basically, the auditor will have to check that all the purchases, sales of inventories have been properly recorded. He needs to reconcile the inventory on 31st March vis-a-vis the inventory on 2nd March and needs to check that the purchases, sales are accurately taken into account and that he can arrive at the 31st March ka figure. He will do a back calculation basically from 2nd April by deleting all the purchases and adding all the sales which have happened in the 2 days. So he will get the 31st March ka inventory value. Next answer, if auditor is unable to attend the physical inventory count due to unforeseen circumstances, auditor shall make or observe some physical count on an alternate date and perform audit procedures for the intervening transactions. So this was, so if you see the previous one, it is a physical inventory counting the management only is doing on some other date other than the FS date. But the next answer is if auditor is unable to attend the physical inventory count, let's say on 31st March, he is unable to attend, management is doing it, but he is unable to attend on that particular day, then he shall make some physical count on an alternate date. He shall ask the management, you show me all the inventory on, let's say, 10th of April. It's possible for me to come on that day. So he can do it on 10th of April, let's say, and then he should perform audit procedures for the intervening transactions. Basically, reconcile 31st March with 10th of April by seeing what transactions have happened in the intervening period. Next question. If attendance at the physical inventory count is impracticable, that is, it is not possible only, there is no way you can reach the physical inventory count. Now, when does this happen? Let's say the place is very dangerous, like there are a lot of chemicals, highly explosive or very hazardous chemicals, or let's say it is in a mine, or let's say in the place where the inventory is there in the surrounding area, some kind of earthquake has happened. So in such a case, you will not be able to attend the physical inventory count even if you want to. It is impracticable, it is not possible. So what should the auditor do? The auditor shall perform alternative audit procedures to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence regarding existence and condition of inventory. Now, what can these alternative procedures be? He can just he can ask maybe one of the local auditors over there, or maybe an expert over there, to kind of count the inventory, something like that. And if it is not possible to do any kind of alternate audit procedures, he should modify the opinion as per SA 705. Because if the inventory is material, then he will have to obtain physical inventory count results. And if he is not even able to perform any kind of alternate audit procedures to obtain the sufficient appropriate audit evidence, he will have to modify the opinion. There would be no option. Next, if inventory under the custody and control of a third party is material to the FS. Again, very important, there is some inventory lying with some third party and such inventory is material to the FS. Then the auditor shall obtain SAAE, sufficient appropriate audit evidence. How? By requesting a confirmation from the third party about the quantities and condition of inventory held on behalf of the entity, perform inspection or other appropriate audit procedures. So the best thing is you just kind of get an independent confirmation from that third party that please tell me how much inventory of this company is lying with you and what is the condition of the inventory. Now, so that is your part about inventory. Next select item is litigation and claims. So let's read. Auditor shall design and perform procedures to identify litigations and claims that may give rise to a risk of material misstatement, like what are the procedures you should do to identify litigations and claims? First is inquiry of management and in-house legal counsel. So every company, every big company, not small companies, but every big company would have an in-house legal counsel, a legal compliance team, a legal counsel. So you should inquire of the management also, maybe the accounts head, the CFO, and also the lawyer, the in-house lawyer that they have. Inquire of them of the current litigations and claims that the company is involved in. Second point is reviewing the minutes of meetings of those charged with governance. So you take the minutes of the company, of the board meetings maybe, and of the risk committee meetings. Take those meetings, review them to see if any litigations and claims have been discussed. Even that can be a way of identifying litigations and claims. And also review correspondence between the entity and external legal counsel. Now the entity may also be seeking could also be seeking legal assistance from some external lawyer. Maybe the internal lawyer is not as equipped to handle, let's say, a high profile case or a case involving higher stakes. Maybe a bigger amount is involved in. So you may take the assistance of an external legal counsel. So you should also review the correspondence between the entity and the external legal counsel. Third is reviewing legal expense account. So this is basically part of your statement of profit and loss. You will have other expenses. In that you'll have legal professional expenses. So see on what has the company spent legal and professional expenses. That can help you identify. Let's say if you have some kind of party, some kind of lawyers or some kind of associate parties. So that could be an indicator that the company has spent some money on legal things. So that could be an indicator of possible litigations and claims. Okay. So the next part is, if the auditor assesses the risk of material misstatement or procedures indicate risk, he should seek direct communication with the entity's external legal counsel. So what is this point saying? It's saying that if the auditor identifies any risks or feels that there could be some risk, he should seek a direct communication with the company's external lawyer, whichever lawyer or law legal agency the company has employed to look after the litigations and claims. The auditor should directly communicate with that person. The auditor shall do this through a letter of inquiry prepared by management and sent by auditor, requesting the external legal counsel to respond directly to the auditor. If the same is prohibited by law, perform alternate procedures. So how should he communicate with that third party legal counsel, the external legal counsel? He should send a letter of inquiry to the legal counsel. He will not send it, management will send it, and that letter will ask the third party legal counsel to directly respond to the auditor. Next, if management refuses to give auditor permission to communicate with the entity's external legal counsel, or external legal counsel refuses to respond appropriately to a letter of inquiry or is prohibited from responding, and the auditor is unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, he shall modify the opinion. So basically, if you are unable to communicate, or if the third party legal counsel does not communicate, or he is prohibited, let's say, by management from communicating, and as a result you are not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, go ahead and modify your opinion. Auditor shall obtain a written representation that all known litigations or claims have been considered in the preparation of FS. Written representation we obtain from the management. It is also a form of audit evidence. SA 580 speaks about written representation. Auditor should obtain a written representation point that all known litigations and claims have been considered by the company in the preparation of the financial statements. Last question is on segment information. So by inventory, we saw existence and condition of inventory. For litigations and claims, we saw completeness has to be there of all litigations and claims. For segment, it is presentation and disclosure. So auditor shall obtain SAAE regarding the presentation and disclosure of segment information in accordance with the applicable FRF by 2 points. Point number 1, obtaining an understanding of methods used by the management in determining the segment information, and evaluation of whether such methods are likely to result in disclosure in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, where applicable test the application of such methods. And the second point is perform analytical procedures or other appropriate audit procedures. So what is this saying? How is the company preparing segment information? The information necessary for the disclosure. So you first understand how the company is preparing this information, and you test whether those methods are appropriate and they will help in disclosing the segment information properly in reference to the applicable financial reporting framework, and also perform some kind of audit procedures or analytical procedures as you may feel appropriate. Now, if you see the segment wala part, I personally feel that it's not very relevant, especially now that we have Ind AS 108, because Ind AS 108 operating segment says that segment information is that information which is reviewed by the CODM, who is the chief operating decision maker. So that is a very subjective thing, and there is no method as such. Whatever is viewed by the chief operating decision maker (CODM) would be called segment information. So you cannot really question, because whatever he's seeing is deemed to be segment information as per Ind AS 108. So really these questions are not very relevant anymore. So this is about SA 501 audit evidence, specific considerations for select items. I hope you all remember. I hope you all have understood and remember all the points, everything that we did today. If you like this video, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Follow my Telegram channel also. The link is t.me/CA Newton Lobo. And see you in my next video. Bye.